My name is Aaron Hafner. I'm the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach at Penn University in Oskaloosa, Iowa. In this DVD, you're going to look at the option game starting from the A gap, working all the way outside to the perimeter. We feel like that we can give you several different options in installing this offense and the run game that we feel is going to be necessary for you to be successful. Okay, today what we're going to do is we're going to break down our run game. It's going to basically have 5 base plays that we have. We obviously have a lot of other things that we do, and everybody has to come up with their own plays that are different than these 5, but these are the 5 base plays we feel like are a necessity to being successful in our offense. To start off with, we want to revisit the idea of why we run the option football, why we have installed this. 3 years ago, we decided to go away from more of a zone power team, outside zone, ran the pistol, to start running the Flexbone. And one of the main reasons why we're doing this is because we felt like we're having a hard time recruiting big offensive linemen. So we are now using smaller offensive linemen, kids that can run a little bit better, very physical, tough type players. First reason why we are running option football is it makes every defense play assignment football. Whether you're a 50 defense, a 4-down defense, we feel like we are making people be assignment responsible and tackle the dive, the quarterback, and the pitch. And that's very important with what we're trying to do. The second thing, it allows our offense to limit our playbook, but yet have a lot of different options for every play that we have. And just like I just mentioned, it's a concept of if the defense allows us to give the ball, then we'll give it. If we pull the ball, then we can attack the edge and pitch it, or the quarterback can carry it. So we have lots of different plays for every play that we do have. We rep a lot in practice, and we coach the fundamentals just like every other football team. But when you run the option, you better have a lot of repetition on rags as far as quarterback, fullback mesh, and things like that. That's very important with what we do. You have to rep things out daily at practice. We probably spend almost half our time every day at practice in individual time to create that continuity between the quarterback, fullback, and our slots, and obviously the timing with our offensive line. Very, very important with what we do. The fourth thing here, it cuts down on the amount of possible blitzes that people can run. In the 3 years we've ran this, we have seen defenses that, when we break down film, we see a lot of people that run a lot of different blitz schemes, zone blitz, all kinds of different twists and stunts and things like that. When they play us, a lot of times when you run the option, this gives us an opportunity to keep things simple for our players. It's very hard to blitz and have a very extensive blitz package for a week when you're defending the option from a standpoint of just having different responsibilities with those blitzes. So we try to keep people very basic with what they do. And the next thing we want to talk about, it gives our team just an identity of tough and physical football. We've talked about having inferior players. We've talked about things like that. Probably another thing that we have a lot of is we have very unselfish players. And that really, with what we do, that really makes a big deal with us when we recruit players. When you are trying to install this offense, you're going to have to sell the point that you're going to have to be unselfish, because we do not determine who gets the football in this offense, whether it's our fullback, quarterback, or our slots. So it's important that you're unselfish, and up front that we're very physical and we're tough, because we practice tough. We practice physical. On at least 2 days a week during game week, we have very physical practices, which is very uncommon for a lot of teams these days. Next thing is as we've mentioned several times, we don't necessarily have the superstars anymore. Inferior players that we recruit necessarily aren't the big-time players. They may be undersized. They're kids that we want to develop into our system that are quicker, again, tough, mentally tough, very smart players. When we talk about running inside veer, midline, and those things, we really want to spend a lot of time teaching those kids different defenses and how to run those. So our kids have to be smart. They may be inferior in size, but they're going to have a big heart and be tough and be very smart players. And as we're going to see here in just a second when we break down the run game, we're going to attack every gap of the defense, and that's very important with different defenses we face during the year. Just for example, this year, we in the 11 games we played, and this is pretty common through our installation of running the option, we'll practice for a defense during the week, and probably 7 to 8 out of the teams we played will run something different on Saturday. So it's important that you're able to block all kinds of different defenses, attack different gaps in all circumstances. Okay, keys to success here when we're talking about people trying to defend the option and you being successful as an offense. We firmly believe that if you're going to run the option, you have to run the option. You can't come back and say we're going to be a zone team on this play and then the next play we're going to run inside veer. We feel like if you're going to run the option, don't just say you're going to run the option and make the read for the quarterback. You rep it, you rep it, you rep it, you give them different looks. You watch lots of film with them, identifying who those handoff key, who the pitch keys are. If you're going to run an option, be an option team, and you'll have a lot more success with what you're trying to accomplish. Spend the time with fundamentals, and we mentioned that just a minute ago. Rep the rag like crazy as far as individual time. Do the blocks and the double team concepts and all those things that are very important with the success of your offense. And you'll see yourself develop as a team into a physical, tough-minded team. And not only on offense, but we feel like it helps our whole team become, develop that type of mentality, our defense and our special teams and all that comes with that. Option football develops not just a tough offense, but a tough football team. And as Coach Hafner mentioned earlier, we're going to try to be excited about what we do, just like everybody else. The part about this that's a little bit different than maybe running the spread and things like that is it's easy to go out and sell kids on catching the football and throwing the ball all over the yard and doing all the fun things that they do. You better be excited about running the option because every day at practice there's a lot of repetition. Again, you better have unselfish players that are going to buy in, and it helps obviously to try to have some success with that offense because then kids start buying into it. But as a coaching staff, we go out to practice every day with a lot of excitement and coach our kids to be tough and physical.
What we at William Penn, we've kind of gone back and forth with some things, but what we're going to give you right now are some general alignment and stance, splits and stance. That's one of the first questions when we have coaching staffs into our place. What they ask. What are your splits? Well, how do you line your guys up? Offensive line-wise, our general rule when we go and teach our new players is that we have 3-foot splits across the board, and if we have a tight end in a game, he's also at 3 foot. We do that because we do some double teaming, and we feel that by 3-foot splits, it still gives the quarterback ample time to make his reads, but at the same time gives the offensive line an opportunity to create great double teams where we can get together and move people. As far as where we align off the ball, we tell our guards your helmet should line up when the center's in his stance. Your helmet should line up with his hip, and then the tackle should be even with the guard. So, generally, guard's helmet to center's hip, and then even the rest of the way, including the tight end. Our backs alignments, the fullback, we begin our fullbacks and tell them basically on every play, put your toes at 4.5 yards from the ball, always in a 3-point stance. We've seen lately that some teams have been running some option with their fullback in a 2-point stance. We feel that by having our fullback in a 3-point stance, it gives him a better opportunity to get off the ball, get to where he's going, and we tell our fullbacks that when you're down in your stance, you should have enough weight on your hand that if we move your hand out from underneath you, you should fall onto your face mask. So we have a tremendous amount of weight on our hand. That allows us, we feel, to get going in a straight line here. The depth of the fullback can vary based on the speed of the back. I don't think that you would ever want a fullback deeper than 4.5 yards, but I think it's okay if you move him up a little bit just so the timing in the mesh works out. As far as our slots alignment, his inside leg splits the tackle in front of him, even if there's a tight end. All right, so he always aligns on the offensive tackle. His inside foot always splits his inside foot always splits the tackle, and we're 3 yards off the ball. So that usually puts us about 1.5 yards to 2 yards behind the tackle. That we feel that by putting him 3 yards off the ball, it allows us to go in motion a lot flatter. We can wait longer to go in motion, and it gets our kids to where they need to be without having to round their path. Different personnel groupings and the formations that we run out of these personnel groupings. 30 personnel to us is 3 backs, which obviously is the fullback, the 2 slot backs, and 2 receivers. 30 personnel is a no tight end formation for us. And really the 3 different formations that we like to get into, and we're not a big formation team. We line up in 4, 5, or 6 different formations. We feel that by doing that we can teach our kids where everyone's going to be on any given snap. So our 30 personnel formations is a balanced formation with 2 slots, in the normal spot, and 2 receivers. If the ball's in the middle of the field, the 2 outside receivers line up at the top of the numbers. So that we feel that gives us a good spread on the field, gives us a good read of where the where the defense is lined up and what they're going to do to us. So that gives us the good spread. We also will line up in a trips open formation where we'll basically bump our slots. So now the play side slot to the trip side would become our number 2 receiver, and then the backside slot bumps over to the number 3 receiver position. And then we line up in a trips unbalanced formation where we'll bring our X receiver over to the strong side of the formation. Now you have your Z and your X on the same side, both lined up on the ball, and your 2 slots are in regular alignment. So those are the 3 formations that we feel are the most beneficial to us. And out of the 30 personnel groups, those are really the only 3 formations that we'll line up in. Okay, so we're going to talk about our 30 personnel formations, and we'll start with just our base formation here with our 2 flankers. Obviously our 2 slots in here and our fullback behind the quarterback. General alignment for our 2 receivers is if the ball's in the middle of the field, their alignment will take them to the top of the numbers on either side of the formation. Okay, so our X receiver will go away from the call, line up at the top of the numbers. Our Z receiver will go to the formation. If you'll recall the alignment of our slots, we're going to take our inside foot and split the tackle on both sides. So their inside foot now is splitting the tackle on both sides. Again, fullback directly behind. If we take the formation and we move it to a hash, what that does now is obviously sends the receiver into the boundary. His split's going to be just a little tighter. Okay, so if we're on the left hash here, now his split will go to the bottom of the numbers, and now the receiver to the field, his split will take him 2 yards from the top of the numbers. Okay, so into the boundary, we're at the bottom of the numbers. To the field, we're 2 yards from the top of the numbers. Slots and everybody else stays the same. All right, another formation that we've talked about and that we really like as a staff is we just squeeze the formation here, all right, and move everybody, or the 2 split receivers, we move them 3 yards from the end man on the line of scrimmage. That condenses the defense, brings the corners and the safety in tighter, and what that really does is it allows our slots to go out and gain a lot more leverage, and it allows us to get the ball to the edge a little bit quicker. So again, when we squeeze the formation, the X and the Z receiver will now their alignment will now be 3 yards from the end man on the line of scrimmage. Again, everybody else is the same. Okay, so that's our base formation and also our squeeze formation. Now, one of the other formations that we like out of 30 personnel is a wide receiver or trips unbalanced formation that we talked about. What we do here is we leave our Z receiver split the same as it would be depending on where the ball's at. Again, if it's in the middle of the field, he's at the top of the numbers. If it's on the hash, he's 2 yards from the top. And again, if we put this formation into the boundary, all right, now he'll move to the bottom of the numbers. We tell the X receiver when he has come over, now all he does is he just splits the difference between where the Z receiver is and where the end man on the line of scrimmage is. All right, so he just finds the midpoint of this, and that determines his alignment. We like this formation for plenty of reasons, but the main reason is it gives us an extra blocker to the play side a lot of the times. So what happens is we'll line up in this, teams will start to adjust, and then what happens if we can begin to outnumber them to the unbalanced side, now we'll start running back to the weak side. When they shift coverage, when a 4-3 team will roll to cover 3 and leave a corner back here to the open side by himself, you know, we'll start looking for those things and try and start running back to that side at that point. So that's our trips unbalanced formation, all right? And then what we'll do, okay, is we'll line up in just a regular trips formation. What we do here is now we'll take our play side slot and he'll split the difference. We now bring our backside slot and move him over into a regular alignment. So again, if the ball's in the middle of the field, they'll both be at the top of the numbers. Our A-back will now split the difference between the Z and the end man, and now this slot moves over, and his inside foot splits the crack of the tackle. So now what we've done is we've given ourselves a 3-by-1 formation. Again, we'll do this to dictate some personnel, to see how teams are going to play their safeties and how they're going to move around and how they're going to move their defense. Again, we'll predominantly attack to the 3 receiver side with our run game. Again, if they start to shift over, we'll try and hit them back to the weak side. So those are 30 personnel formations that are our favorites. Just to recap, you know, the doubles, you know, the general formation that everyone gets into, we'll squeeze that down, and then we'll get into a trips unbalanced formation, and then also we'll get in just a regular trips open formation. Again, fullback is still toes at 4 to 4.5. Slot, inside slot here, splitting, inside leg splitting the tackle, and then this slot now is splitting the difference between the Z receiver and the end man on the line of scrimmage. 31 personnel formations, 3 backs, 1 tight end in the game, which only leaves us 1 receiver in the game. Depending on the ability of your tight end, you can get into these 30 personnel formations, but if your tight end's a tight end, a true tight end, we line up balanced with the flanker on one side and tight end on the other side, obviously with the 2 slots. Again, with the tight end in the game, again, our slots don't bump their alignment. They're still in the same alignment. And then unbalanced with the tight end and flanker on the same side with slots in normal alignment. So we'll bring our tight end over and put him on the same side as the flanker. Now that creates the unbalanced situation, makes the defense have to adjust. And what we have found out is that with our unbalanced formations, there are plenty of plays that we can run to the unbalanced side that hurts the defense because we get them outnumbered. And as soon as teams start to adjust to the unbalanced situation, it has really opened things up back to the weak side of the formation and really allowed us to get some big plays back to the weak side. All right, now we'll get into our 31 personnel groupings. Again, 31 personnel's 3 backs with the 2 slots in the fullback and our 1 tight end in the game. And we're going to talk about 2 specific formations that we get in out of this that are our 2 favorites that we'll run our outside veer out of and some different things. And again, we're trying to outnumber the defense and put them in a bad spot. Just talking about general alignment ideas, with 31, we're in a tight end formation here, tight end to the left, flanker to the right. The most important thing that we teach our backs is that even if you're the slot lined up to the tight end side, you still take your inside foot and split the tackle. All right, you don't line up on the tight end, you're still in the same alignment. To the open side, obviously that doesn't change, but to the tight end side, we do that to keep our motions consistent, to allow our slots to not have to worry about, well, I'm wider, I have to go earlier, or I'm tighter, I'm wider, I have to go later, tighter, I have to go earlier. So, we just say go line up in the same spot no matter what the formation is, no matter if there's a tight end there or not. So our favorite 31 personnel formation, again, is just a tight end to one side, flanker to the other side. What we'll do against certain teams and certain defenses is we'll just line our tight end up to the flanker side and make it an unbalanced situation. Again, like we talked about with our 30 personnel formation, when we brought our receiver over and put him to the inside receiver and made it a trips unbalanced, now we're just moving our tight end over. Now it's a tight end unbalanced formation. Again, the defense has to do something. And if they don't do anything, which some teams don't do a lot, then we'll just continue to run the ball to the unbalanced side because we've given ourselves numbers. The second that the defense starts to over-adjust or starts to shift their D-line or shift their secondary to our unbalanced formations and give us numbers back to the weak side, we're sure going to take advantage of that as soon as we can, just to try and get them balanced up again so we can attack back to the unbalanced side. All right, so the two 31 personnel or 3-back, 1 tight end formations that we like the most are this unbalanced formation with the tight end and the flanker on the same side, or tight end on one side, flanker on the other. And we'll get in these formations to dictate and do some different things with our tight end that we can't do out of our spread formations. The running game. And basically what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the 5 main plays in our running offense. And I'm just going to give you where we are, what we're doing, how things work. I'm just going to give you a general overview of our run game and how to develop, your option playbook. So what we do is, like I said earlier, when we first sat down, we said, we want to be able to attack from the A gap all the way to the outside. And there are plays that we run that allow us to do that. Obviously, the first play up there, the midline option, is a double option with the quarterback and the fullback. And what we do on our midline is we read the first man on or outside the guard. And that is obviously our A-gap option play. We consider that an A-gap option because that's where we're reading the play. Our fullback stays true to the midline, runs it through the A-gap. Now he'll make his cut after he gets the ball, but not until he gets the ball. So we're running the option in the A-gap. We're reading the first man on or outside the play side guard. Inside veer, obviously inside veer is our bread and butter play. A little bit of an inside there. It's such a bread and butter play for us that in one game this year against a ranked opponent, we actually ran inside veer 13 times in a row. The defense didn't stop it. We ran it all the way down and scored, and then ran it back the other way and scored again in those 13 plays, scored 2 touchdowns, didn't run any other play. But inside veer is a triple option play, reading the first man on or outside the tackle. And when we consider on is if he's in what we consider a 4-eye technique, which is an inside shade of the tackle, that is considered on the tackle. So on is inside shoulder to head up to outside shoulder or anything else outside. All right, so we're reading the first man on or outside the tackle. It is a B-gap option play because initially the fullback's path leads him to the B-gap. So we're considering that a B-gap option. Now we're making someone else the dive player. All right, so now we've gone from an inside player, an inside defensive tackle being the dive player. Now the outside defensive end has to be the dive player. And now we're creating different schemes and different things and making different people think. And that's what it's all about. We're not thinking, they are thinking. The next play that we decided had to be in because we see so much 50 front defense, whether it be regular 50 front with 2 linebackers or stack defense, we felt that this play could give us an opportunity to run and attack again a different player. So we run outside veer. We talk about outside veer. It's still a triple option play. On the outside veer now, we're reading the first man on or outside the tight end. All right, so we've gone from the A gap to the B gap. Now we're in the C gap, and again, making a different player now tackle the dive, and now a different player is responsible for the quarterback. So with each of these different plays, we've attacked a different gap, but we've also made a different defensive player now responsible for different things in the option game. Counter option is a play where we felt that we needed something going away from where we initially started. So counter option is a double option play, so the quarterback's not going to read anything from the snap. He's not going to read anything until he gets this thing out to the edge. It's a double option play attacking the pitch key outside the end man on the line of scrimmage with counter action in the backfield. Okay, and we'll go over a little bit more of that here in just a couple minutes, but the counter option allows us to now go back against the grain, again, get the defense moving, try and gain some angles on them, and then now get the ball out to the edge. Now we're considering our counter option a D-gap option, all right? And what that does, again, is it makes someone else react differently. Someone that we would normally block in that situation, now we are not blocking. Again, creating different angles for our receivers to block safeties, and now our slots to block corners and things like that. And then really the only non-option play that we have in our system right now, we call it the rocket sweep. The rocket sweep is a toss play to a slot moving across the formation, and really it's a situation where the quarterback now, there's no reading, there's no option. He turns and tosses the ball to the slot and gives us an opportunity to get the ball to the edge right now, really without any, the quarterback having to do any thinking. And sometimes after he's taken a couple hits, that's an okay thing. The midline. Again, we talked about the midline, what it does for us, why we run the midline, and then we're going to give you some basic ideas of what the midline has done for us, and some basic ideas of how to block the midline. Again, going back to it, it gives you the A-gap option play that you're looking for, and at the same time gives you an opportunity as a coach to get the ball to what we consider our 2 best players, our fullback and our quarterback. And in our offense, and different coaches see this differently, here we see the 2 best players as our quarterback and our fullback, and it gives us an opportunity to get it to one of those 2 players when we run the midline. So it gives us the A-gap option play. It's a double option to get the ball to your quarterback or fullback. Again, we just talked about why we want to do that. It keeps the inside defensive tackle from charging up the field on every play, trying to split double teams and things like that. Now he has to react to the play. So if he's just charging upfield and we run midline and he charges upfield and we give the football to our fullback, now our fullback should run through scot-free and we should have everyone at the second level blocked for him. So now it makes the inside defensive tackle not an upfield player. It makes him more of a reactor, all right? So you double team him on a couple plays and get him thinking that here comes a double team. Now he has to react, get down to tackle the dive when the play side guard inside veer releases him. So it makes the inside guy a reactor instead of just a hard charger. It gives you a between the tackles run play that fits into the option scheme. It's still an option because you're still reading somebody. And a lot of coaches early on and coaches that we talk to call this play the quarterback ISO play. We don't necessarily think of it like that because we don't like to use the term ISO in our offense. So to us, this is just an option play that we can run between the tackles that we feel we can get the ball to one of our 2 best players. And this play can be run with or without a tight end based on what you do. If you want to always play with a tight end in the game, great way to do it. You can still run the midline, and we'll talk about how to do that in just a little bit, but you don't have to play with the tight end when you run midline. You can play it, with a formation spread, block it with your offensive tackle, bring in your slots and using your slots as the lead through blockers. The basic concepts of the midline, as far as the blocking scheme is concerned, again, it utilizes the A gap. All right, the quarterback now is going to read the first man on or outside the play side guard. So as soon as he takes the snap, his eyes immediately go to that player. Whether it's, again, when we consider on, we consider a 2-eye, which is the inside of the guard, to head up, which is the 2 technique, to the 3 technique, which is outside the guard. Any player in one of those 3 positions is considered our handoff key. So his eyes are immediately going to go to that player and read what he does. Again, if he charges upfield, obviously we want him to give the ball. If he comes down, we want him to pull the ball. And if for some reason he slants inside and our guard picks him up and blocks him, now we tell our quarterback to pull the football and run the next option of that. We always want to try to check the play to the B-gap defender if at all possible. Obviously, there are situations where you can't do that. For example, if they line up in 50 defense with a head-up nose, 2 wide defensive tackles and 4 or 5 techniques, all right, there really is no B-gap defender. Another example of a non-B-gap defender is if they line up in double A-gap players and then double 5 techniques. You can still run the play, but there are different things that you'll have to do there. You'll have to probably block the A-gap player. Again, once the A-gap player gets blocked, now you pull the football and your quarterback becomes the primary ball carrier in that situation. But if you have the opportunity, we always try to check this play to the B-gap defender. Utilize false motion from your slots to get the defense moving. Again, we'll bring a slot in motion at the snap of the ball. He'll stop his motion and be the lead blocker through the hole. So it allows us to utilize false motion. Now we'll bring the backside slot in motion, run the play over here. Now he leads through and our play side slot will go block the safety. So we try and make everything look as much like inside veer before the snap as we can. Now we can utilize some false motions and different things to run the midline, get the defense moving, try and get them out of position, and get our slots up on the linebackers and give us everything that we're looking for. And again, just going back to reemphasize that it utilizes your best players, your quarterback and your fullback. Again, we think that those are the ones that we want to utilize. Inside veer. Why do we run inside veer? And then just the basic concepts of the play. It gives you your B-gap option play that we talked about. It's a triple option play that utilizes all of your backfield players. On any given play, you have the opportunity to get the ball to your fullback, to your quarterback, or to your slot. And really based on what the defense does, and obviously that's the beauty of this offense, based on what the defense does, anybody can carry the ball on any play for a big yardage or a touchdown. And we again, going back to it, inside veer is our bread and butter play. It is the play that we call probably 50% of the time, and it gives us an opportunity to make the defense sit still, to let our kids know where we're going and what they're doing, and on any given play, anybody can carry it. It makes the defensive end react to what is happening in front of him. It slows down his charge. And in our conference, and in most conferences across the nation, whether it be junior high to college, they're always going to put their best pass rusher at defensive end because they see so much spread offense. You have to have that guy that can just go sack the quarterback. And those are the guys that we try to attack because they attack upfield so much, it gets everybody on the rest of the defense out of sorts. So it really slows down a great pass rusher because now he has to react and be a dive player, and if he's not, then our fullbacks should have a good day. It gives you a play that attacks all parts of the defense, from inside the tackle to right outside the tight end, all the way to the edge with your slots if you get the ball pitched. Again, we're trying to attack the defense wherever they want us to attack them. If they don't want to tackle the dive, then we'll give it to our fullback all day. If they want to try and make our quarterback run it, then we'll let him run it all day. And so it's not a situation where we go into a game saying, well, we really think our fullback's going to have a big day today. It just depends on what the defense wants to do. Hard for them to stop all of it if we're clicking on all cylinders. And then last and for us most important, if we run it well, it really keeps the defense from blitzing from all over the place. And with all the exotic blitzes and different things that you see to try and stop the spread and to try and get into and sack the quarterback, running the option really keeps the defense from running all the exotic stuff. Now you're going to see some edge blitzes and you'll see some inside blitzes and things like that, but those are all things that you should be working on a daily basis. It's the bring the free safety in the A gap and different blitzes like that we don't typically see anymore, because it gets players out of position and doesn't give the defense a chance to stop what we're trying to do. Again, like the midline, we'll give you some basic concepts of what the inside veer is. Again, in the next video, we'll go into the specific blocking schemes of each position. But really, the quarterback's going to read the first man on or outside the offensive tackle. And what that does, again, we're attacking a different player. The quarterback now pitches, if he pulls the football, now pitches off the first man outside the defensive end. And that's really how we teach it. You're going to read the defensive end, you're going to pitch off the first man that shows, whether it's a scrape linebacker, whether it's an outside linebacker in a 4-4 defense, a stand-up defensive end, and some type of 50 defense. That's going to be your pitch key. As an offense, the first 2 years we ran the play, we always tried to check it to the A-gap player. Always tried to run it to the open bubble. And what we found out this year, by running the play wherever it was called, it did two things for us. Again, eliminated a little bit of the thinking from the offensive line because we're not checking the play. So when they break the huddle, they know where the play's going and they know exactly who to block on that play. And it also gave us an opportunity to double team some people, to cause some piles where our fullback can kind of hide in there a little bit, break it one way or another based on what the linebacker does. And we really saw some big gains from our fullback because the linebacker either couldn't get over the top of the double team or he got over the top of the double team and we were able to cut it back up inside. In an ideal situation, if you run the play to the A-gap defender, you have a bigger bubble, but there is still potential for big plays even if you do run it to a B-gap defender. It gets all your backs involved. Now the slots aren't just carrying out a fake, or the fullback's not just carrying out a fake. They actually think that they could get the ball on every single play. So it gives us the opportunity to get the ball to anybody, depending on what the defense wants to do. Okay, so from inside veer to midline, we have our A gap and our B gap option plays. Now to the outside veer, which is a play that we added after our first year. And with my brother being the offensive coordinator, we've gone back and forth, and we do that every now and then about the pros and cons of running this play. I came from a split back veer offense, so running the outside veer in my college days was something that was just part of what we did. With the fullback directly behind the quarterback, it makes it a little bit of a tough angle, but after we worked out some of the details and some of the kinks, we feel that it's really been a beneficial play for us. Again, the outside veer gives you that C-gap option play for teams that like to play, the C-gap defender. Teams that'll reduce down in a 4-man front, or 50 defense teams that really you now can attack that. It's a triple option play, again, that utilizes all your backfield players. Everybody's involved. Only your play side slot's now a blocker. So your quarterback, your fullback, or your backside slot that's going in motion could be a ball carrier on any given play. What we have found out with that is that this is probably one of the hardest plays to defend just because of the players that we're attacking. You can teach your inside, as a defensive coach, you can teach your inside tackle to come down on the midline, and you can teach your defensive end to come down on the dive on the inside veer. But it's really hard for you to teach that stand-up defensive end or that outside linebacker type player to come down and tackle the dive. And we really have had a lot of success giving the football to our fullback on this play. Number 3, it makes the outside linebacker react and do something he doesn't normally do, which is what I was trying to get at. He now has to tackle the dive instead of be a quarterback player every single time. And then it gives you a great play against 50 front teams. And that we have seen defenses evolve from the four down because of so much spread offense back to the 50 front defenses, the head up nose and things like that. And we really felt that adding this play for 50 front defenses gave us a huge advantage to be able to attack a player that doesn't normally have to tackle the dive and things like that. Again, just some basic concepts. The quarterback now reads the first man on or outside the tight end, which is usually an outside linebacker or a stand-up defensive end of some kind. And now he pitches off the first man that shows outside of his handoff key. As we'll talk about later, we call that a mush situation, where he can really, once he makes a read, if the defensive end or the outside linebacker comes down and tackles the dive, now he can get out of the mesh and really accelerate to the edge, knowing that the next person that shows he can pitch off of because we have everybody else blocked. Against 50 defenses, it utilizes a double team from the tight end and tackle. And the reason that I put that in there is I really think that, you know, going back to the extreme pass rusher, the guy that can really get off the ball and do things, he's usually not your more heavy-legged type player. He's a skill player is what we consider those guys. And anytime that you feel that you can get, you know, 250 and 220 pound tight end, you know, hip to hip, shoulder to shoulder, double team and a skill type player, you really feel that you can get some movement and really gain an advantage in that gap. So we like to utilize that, and you'll even see in film a little later that we'll trade our tight end to those guys and give ourselves a situation where we can do some of those things. There's no need to check it against a 50 defense. It's good to either side as long as you know you have to run it to the tight end. You can't run it to an open end with no tight end there. It just doesn't work unless your tackle's really good at blocking those DNs. And right now we don't feel that we can do that. And I'm not going to suggest that. Counter option. Why we run the counter option? Again, it gives you a double option play that attacks the edge of the defense. It gives you a counter play versus hard flow defenses, and I mentioned that early on. That's why we do it. Sure, you can run false motions and things like that and get the defensive linebackers and the secondary guys to take a couple steps. But when you run true counter action in the backfield, you can really see that defenses almost overflow. And now you have such good angles on them that you're creating great separation and great opportunities for big plays back away from the counter. It's great against hard flow defenses. So many defensive coaches now, you see them coaching, and it's run to the ball, run to the ball, run to the ball, run to the ball. Well, just by adding counter option to your offensive playbook, now they can't coach that, because now if they run, and you counter them back the other way, there's a chance that they won't have anybody standing out there to tackle you. The other reason to run counter option is it's only one read for your quarterback. The other 3 plays that we've talked about have at least 2 reads for your quarterback, with the midline, inside veer, and outside veer. There's only one read. He's going to make a fake in the backfield, he's going to reverse out of it, and he's only looking for his pitch key. That's the only thing that he has to try and find, and then he is responsible for that pitch key. If that pitch key sinks or gets lost in the mess, now he knows where he's at. If that pitch key blitzes off the edge, he is also responsible for him at that point in time. So he needs to be ready to get rid of the football and give himself an opportunity to get soft and really try not to take a big hit. And it's a great play against any defense. You know, we've talked about, you know, midline, try and run it to a 3 technique and inside veer and things like that. This play is a great play against any defensive front, and it's especially good against defenses that really like to run to the football and overreact to fakes. The basic concepts of this is the fullback and the quarterback will fake the inside veer action away from the call, and the play side slot will go in false motion, allowing great blocking angles. Okay, so we're really selling inside veer away from the call. All right, so we're going to bring, if we're going to run the play over here, we're going to bring this slot in motion. We're going to fake it over here, and at the snap of the ball, now he's going to run back out and make the block. And our backside slot now is going to go when the ball is snapped. But it really creates a false action for the defense. The quarterback will pitch off the first man lined up outside the defensive end. So whether we have a tight end in the game or if we run it to the open side, we're always going to try and block the defensive end. So we're always going to try and pitch it off of the next man that shows outside the defensive end. With a tight end in the game, that defensive end may be standing on the line. With no tight end in the game, that guy can be off the ball or he could be anywhere. That's why it's important for the quarterback to recognize where his pitch key is. The play side backer will block, the play side tackle will block the play side linebacker, and the backside guard will pull and log the defensive end. All right, so we're going to pull a guard on this play. He's going to try and get his helmet and his shoulder pad on the outside hip of the defensive end and get him turned to the inside. And now we're trying to get a free shot on the play side backer with our tackle. The quarterback in the slots will attack the edge of the defense. Again, the quarterback, once he realizes where his pitch key is, attack the pitch key. All right, give the slot an opportunity to get in good pitch relationship, and when the pitch key attacks, let the ball go, and hopefully you have good angles on everybody. So that's the basic concepts of the counter option. Great play against hard flow defenses. The rocket sweep, and this is a play that, you know, if you watch the Georgia Techs and the Navies, you know, this is the play that all double slot option coaches want to know about. How do you run this play successfully? Because we have a really good slot and we need to try and get him the ball. And for us, it's a play that's been met with a lot of success. And it gives us a chance to get the ball on the edge. And really the reasons that we're running this is it gives your quarterback a playoff. He's not running any of the option plays. It really gives him a chance to catch his breath if he's run the ball 4 or 5 times in a row, or he's taken a big hit and you think, oh, I may need to give him a play here to get his bearings or to catch his breath a little bit. It gives your quarterback a physical playoff, a physical break. It gives you an opportunity to get the ball in the hands of your slots. And sometimes defenses are going to say, we're not going to let them get the ball pitched on inside veer, outside veer. We're going to take that guy away from them. And this play gives you the opportunity to get the ball in their hands, out in space, with an opportunity to make a big play. It forces the edge of the defense without running an option play. Basically, this play is telling the defense, we're running this thing to the edge no matter what. No matter what defense you're lined up in, we're going to try and get the ball to the edge. And so it does force the edge, and it makes them be a full flow defense. It utilizes an offensive line that can run and block defenders on the second level. We talked about earlier the inferior offensive lineman theory. Again, you know, we all know those guys aren't inferior. They're the best players on our team, and if they're not, we're going to be in trouble. But if you have an offensive line as a junior high coach or a high school coach that can really run to the ball, or really run and get out and block people and get good leverage on people, then this is a great play to run. The basic concepts of the sweep or the toss, the quarterback will reverse out and toss the ball to the motion slot. And we toss that thing way out there. We toss that thing at least to the tackle, if not a little wider. The fullback will go opposite, and for defenses that their linebackers are reading the fullback, that gives you just the extra second to get your offensive lineman up on those backers, because they'll read him, take that false step before they realize what's going on, and now you have the angle on him. He'll go opposite and block the defensive end. The play side slot will arc and block the corner. He always goes and blocks the corner. Doesn't matter what coverage they have, he always is to the corner. Receivers will block the play side safety, the play side high safety. If it's a play side down safety, then we'll try and crack him. But if it's a high safety, we'll go try and get him. The play side offensive tackle and guard will block the first man to their outside gap. So, for example, if there's a 3 technique or an outside shoulder player, he's not trying to block him, he's trying to get to the next man outside. All right, and now our tackle's trying to get clear to the outside to pick up any straight backer or any backside safety. The offensive tackle will block the play side linebacker, and offensive guard will block the play side DN. All other offensive linemen will block their play side gap to the second level. We're throwing that thing out there so wide that we don't really feel that anybody inside or backside are really even going to be a threat to tackle us for anything less than a 7, 8, 10-yard gain.
Okay, we're going to start with the midline option, the A-gap play. And what we're going to try to do today with our run game is we're really going to try to help you develop a playbook with some terminology maybe you're struggling with, and all kinds of different things. A lot of these concepts that we're going to do, whether you're a spread, double slot type offense like we are, or you run the I, or you run the wishbone, we see that some, split backs. A lot of these concepts are going to really help you out develop this playbook with some terminology. And what we're going to do is we're going to go position by position. We're going to break it down, what responsibility is for each player. And then we're going to give you a visual. We'll give you a couple different clips here. And so hopefully the things we talk about, you can now bring back and take away what you need to out of it. We'll start with the quarterback each time. And the quarterback's footwork on midline. We really want to push off that play side foot and really clear the midline is what we like to tell our guys, and reach that ball back as far as you can and get in that fullback's belly. Okay. Obviously, if you're running true triple and true double option with the midline, you want to make sure that your eyes are always on your handoff key. Okay. We talk about a lot of times that our chin gets on that front shoulder. It keeps those eyes on our handoff key. On midline, remember we are reading the first guy on or outside the guard, which is a 2-eye, a head-up 2 technique, or a 3 technique. So it's important that we identify who that handoff key is right off the bat. Okay, and again, if you're talking about 50 defense, that guy can be way out there. And we do run some midline off of 50 defense as well. Okay, another coaching point here with the quarterback is if you do pull the football, then we want to make sure we accelerate through the B gap, because that's the blocking scheme with our kick outs and stuff on the edge. Fullback footwork. And this is something that we've tinkered with quite a bit, but we're always going to stop. If we're running the ball to the right, we're going to step with our left foot. It really helps us keep on the midline. It helps us with inside veer footwork and things, we feel like there's been some, if we step play side foot, it gets us off the midline quite a bit. And we'll look at film here in just a second that you'll see our fullback will step with his backside foot, and that sure does make a big difference to keep him on the midline and aim for the crack of the center. We preach a play side cut, so if we're running the ball to the left, then we want to cut the ball to the left if available, versus 50 defenses that can vary a little bit based off of what that nose is doing. And as you'll hear a whole bunch, and the term we use a lot, you have to soft squeeze the ball, and that's why you rep things on the rag so you can develop that mesh. Okay, moving on here to the play side slot. Okay, we run midline 4 or 5 different ways. We'll talk about a couple of them today, and you have to figure out what's going to be the best fit for you. Our favorite one is the false motion play, where we want to really cell truck the opposite way and then bring it back to back to the false motion. That gets people moving out of position and helps us with our run game. So that guy's going to, what we want to call insert, and we'll ISO on a linebacker or a safety, hopefully, if things are going well. Backside slot at the snap of the ball will get in pitch relationship. Probably in all the years we've been coaching the midline, you're going to pitch it once, maybe twice a season. It's probably a fluke, and that's way downfield. So really that guy's just going to try to pull those safeties out with his motion and get outside. Receiver's always going to, what we call slam the safety or block the play side high safety. Okay, and that's a little bit different from some of our other schemes, which gives us a better look there. Since we are running it in the B gap, we want to get that safety blocked. Okay, let's go through tight end here and the combos. If you play with the tight end, a couple things that'll do. It'll help you sometimes get that 3 technique that you're looking for. We like to check it to that B gap. And by putting a tight end in the game, that allows us to a lot of times determine where that B gap defender is going to be. If the tight end is in the ball game, he will combo with the play side tackle, and we will work to the place. He'll combo with the play side tackle, double teaming the defensive end, working to the play side backer, that outside backer reverse in a 4-3. 50 defense, it just turns into basically a kick out concept, but we do combo with the tackle in 4 down. Play side tackle, kick out first man on or outside, which again, we talked about reading that B gap player and then kicking out that 5. Again, we talked about what would happen if a tight end is now next to him. We love the midline with a tight end or without a tight end, so either way works for us. Play side guard, we're going to veer release, and when we talk about veer releasing, we're talking about completely trying to clear our handoff key. If for some reason we have an inside gap player like a 2-eye, we're going to wash that guy down, but we will try to rip underneath him. If he crosses our face, we will wash him down. Other than that, we want to completely clear with our footwork. And again, we'll see some of that in video here in just a second. Okay, the center, we'll work backside double with the guard. Backside double with the guard, and then they'll work the backside linebacker. If we have a 50 defense, then we're going to single that nose and work up. Okay? Backside, the backside guard will double with the center versus 4 down if we have that backside A-gap player. And this is kind of a little different. If we have a B-gap player on the backside, like double B-gap defenders, we will hook him on the backside. And since we are stepping off the midline and working away from the play here with our quarterback's back, we do block the backside defensive end. The terminology we use is the filter block, which is basically locking on that backside defensive end. We basically have 4 or 5 different ways we run midline. Up front for your front 5 or your front 6 if you have a tight end in the ball game, nothing really changes. It's all about who you're going to insert, which slots you're going to insert. Sometimes you can double insert and do some things. So you have a variety of different ways you can run this. You can really sell midline off your motion and false motion and do things that can really put just a concern on the defense from a standpoint of false motion and things, and now we're going to insert and give us an opportunity to be good. Now, one thing here that we would suggest that when you're running midline is make sure that you check it to a B-gap player. We will always try to run it if you get double A-gaps and you have to try to find the loosest one, but we will check midline from day 1 to a B-gap player. So in this particular case, there's our handoff key. Midline, again, is a double option play. So you have two guys that can carry the football, and that's going to be your fullback or your quarterback. Okay, normally going to be our best 2 football players and what we're trying to do with the options. So everything goes through those 2 guys. Okay, let's start from the outside in. We're running midline to this side. Okay, we'll base stock the corner or slam the safety. Either way, just depends on which midline play that we have called. Okay, and what we're going to do here is I'm going to insert one based off of some false motion, so I'll give you an idea of what we're looking at. And then again, this is without a tight end. So this tackle is going to kick out block and seal this defensive end. What he wants to do is get 45-degree push. As he feels pressure, we'll start working our hips in the hole to seal that guy to the outside. We'll veer release. Completely step with your opposite foot, and we want to clear this guy playing with low pads and rip underneath this guy and work the outside leg of the mic when we block this mic linebacker. One thing about this backside block that can get us to this backside linebacker is we're always going to step back and double the backside A-gap player. We want to double. The guard wants to start to overtake as this progresses, get our eyes on that backside backer and seal him outside. We will always protect the B-gap first with the backside tackle, and now he's going to seal off this defensive end if we don't get any backside B-gap blitz. Okay, again here we're working some type of backside rule. Okay, let's look at some type of false motion play. We will sell inside veer to just outside the tackle, inside the guard. So as this guy starts to come in, we want flow potentially out of the secondary, maybe out of the backers. And so we're selling this, get just inside the guard here, and now we're going to insert an ISO on this play side backer, the Sam linebacker in this particular case. Okay, let's talk about footwork here in the backfield. The quarterback's going to push back with his play side foot. He's going to push back and clear the midline. Okay, so he's going to push back off this. We talked about this in our PowerPoint. We're always going to step with our away foot with our fullback, and he's going to aim for the crack of the center. Okay, straight ahead, the midline. That's what we talk about. Easy read here for your quarterback at the 3 technique. He's reading for him to close. If he steps upfield, give it. If he gives it, the fullback will make a play side cut. That's what we're looking for right there. If he comes down, then now we want to accelerate through the mesh and attack the B gap with our quarterback. We talk about it's a double option play. We still will run late pitch path off the snap here, and that guy will get to the edge as fast as possible. Okay, hopefully pulling this safety, thinking some type of inside veer concept, draw the safety down. If we have a call on, we can block the safety here and hopefully keep the corner out wide. Some key blocks here that we have to have a good block here. Must do a good job if you're a college team cutting a second level or just gaining leverage on that Mike linebacker. Okay, let's go over here and look at a midline play with a tight end. And again, this is an unbalanced situation. Safety rolled down, maybe a cover 3 type concept. Okay, we'll start here. We'll base stock the corner. Now, this is a combination block. The tackle now knows he's still responsible for this defensive end. And I'll do a different insert here just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. But here, what you're looking at here, we're still reading the 3 technique, so we're going to check it here to the 3 technique. But we're going to work a combination block between the tight end and the tackle, and that combination block is going to work to the play side backer if he sits or fits outside. If he comes inside, we'll let him work inside, and then we'll let our insert take care of that. So as these guys are working, if this guy fits here, then the combination block can work off to there. If it fits inside, these guys will stay on track and now work to this strong safety. Same concept here. We'll veer release, gain leverage on the mic, whether you're cutting or just staying high. Just get that hat on the front side, play side shoulder. Double team this backside. Backside tackle will protect the B gap and then lock on the defensive end and run him up the field to protect the back of the quarterback. Let's look at a different play here where we're going to sell inside veer, which we just looked at a second ago, and now insert here with our backside. So what happens here with our front side slot, he now outside release trying to draw safeties and potentially the backside safety and really sell that inside veer. Clear step from our quarterback, work off the midline. Remember, we're working play side cut if it's a give. If it's a pull, we're now going to be right off the hip of that guy tackling our dive and get it in the B gap as fast as possible. Attack, attack, attack off the mesh. Once you clear the mesh, whether it's inside veer, whether it's midline, outside veer, doesn't make a difference. Make sure that you attack the mesh, or get through the mesh and attack the line of scrimmage out of that. That's a huge coaching point when you're coaching the option, especially midline. Get up in there, be physical, don't take that big shot, run low to the ground. Okay, and this is always a concern with option teams is the midline play and your quarterback being safety. So you're going to have to coach a lot of toughness with that kid and understand this play can be huge for you as far as an A-gap play, reading those B-gap defenders. Really makes it tough for those guys to penetrate those down linemen and it keeps them honest with what they're doing. Let's look at the midline and let's talk about some alignment here to start off with. As you notice here, good balance here between these guys. We talk about in the first video, we talk about these guys being at the top of the numbers if the ball's the middle of the field. And they've adjusted here because the ball's on the hash. So he goes to the bottom, he's working inside the numbers. probably maybe a little bit too much depth here off these guys. You see here we're getting some type of 4-3 concept on defense. Again, we would call this a 6-1 or solo defense. So these guys are getting a little more depth so they can see those play side linebackers. Okay, as we go through this, I think one of the most important things that we can identify here is identify who our handoff key is on midline. And we're going to run this ball to the right here. So we're going to look here. There's our handoff key on our guard. Okay, first guy on or outside our guard. So this guy becomes a kick out guy. This is a 4-3 linebacker walked on the line of scrimmage. So our insert is responsible for this guy here. So as you see, we're going to go false motion trying to sell inside veer. And then this guy is going to ultimately be responsible. He's the insert guy, which he'll insert to the outside. He'll step backside. We have a little bit a different defense here on the backside, but we're going to work everything back here. It should give us an opportunity to get everything blocked. This guard here should veer release, try to clear, and try to get to this play side linebacker. As you can see here, good footwork here by the play side guard. He's ripping underneath. We teach a lot of cutting because we're able to. Obviously, it's all just about getting leverage. You see this play side defensive end. In theory, we want to kick him out, but if he slants that hard, then you just wash him down. Okay, remember our concept of trying to get 6 yards of play, very important. Great footwork here by our quarterback, stepping back with his play side foot. And you see our what we talked about earlier with our fullback stepping with that off foot, that left foot in this case, right on the midline. Very good here. And getting in late pitch relationship, trying to draw the safety, the corner, out to the outside. Okay, here's a trips look. Okay, same concept here, identifying who that handoff key, who the pitch key is. This is a true 4-3 look. Okay, we have this predetermined, so we're not checking this particular play. We want to run it, in this particular case, we want to run it to the trips here. So they played their B-gap player aware, so now we have to know that this is still our handoff key. Sometimes this becomes a challenge for us, but our guard still knows he has to try to rip underneath this. Good false motion here by our slot. Has his eye on his insert, or that play side backer knows he has to insert inside. Tackle loses his footing here, still gaining some leverage, makes that guy go around and working. Good veer release here by that play side guard, getting to that play side linebacker. Good read here, good footwork again by our fullback and quarterback. Double hook on the backside. You can cut or you can stay high here, you can predetermine that. Excellent filter block. We just talked about that here on the backside. Run that guy up the field. Stick it up in there, be physical. You can see our inside receiver out there getting to that safety. Okay, here we're looking at, now let's look at something with 50 defense. Okay, and a lot of people won't run midline to a 50 defense. We feel pretty good about running midline to a 50 defense. Again, it just makes your handoff key really wide here. If we keep things on track here and our center does a good job of reaching that play side shoulder, you have an opportunity here to be successful. Fullback here is going to break an arm tackle and get up the field. That's a tough deal on that handoff key on that defensive end in this case. Okay, you can see here identifying first guy on or outside the guard happens to be all the way out here. So this is, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, midline and inside veer become the same handoff key. And so now our tackle here is going to go outside to this outside backer. This gives a clean shot on this play side backer. We will double this in theory. Okay, he's checking for front side number. He's going to work play side shoulder. And he has to backside filter this. You see the false motion insert. You can see how important this is in our offense with these backers just moving off this false motion. Good job by our slot here avoiding our handoff key to the outside, looking for any type of trash. Good veer release here by our right guard, getting on that play side linebacker. Really, in this particular case, our quarterback could have probably done either one here and been in good shape. Okay, this is kind of a bear 3-3 stack look. Let's look at some end zone copy. I think we'll get a better look here. Okay? Double B gaps with a head up nose, we can run it either way. So here, we're going to run it in this particular case here. We're going to bring this guy in motion like inside veer, and we're going to insert him on this particular play. All right, we talk about running it to a tight end. Here's a tight end play, and we are going to double this defensive end here to the play side linebacker. And you can see our right tackle here getting on that play side linebacker because they keep a 9 technique. Excellent veer release here by our right guard. We end up, the thing is about this type of defense, we would call this bear front. This definitely makes your center play man-to-man on this nose guard because you have to backside hook in both accounts here with your guard and backside tackle. Okay, we have a double insert here with our slot and our play side. You can see we're going to fit up in there with our quarterback. Excellent, excellent look here at your quarterback footwork, staying on the midline, and then accelerating through that B gap and getting up in there and being a good physical, tough run. The next thing we're going to talk about is inside veer. Probably our bread and butter. This is day one for us. This is, we ran the ball for about 670 times this year, and over 370 of those were inside veer. So over half our run plays were inside veer. Again, we feel like inside veer is going to be 3 different options for us on every snap. Our fullback, quarterback, or we can pitch the football. And it really makes it tough on defenses to play responsibility football. Let's go through some responsibilities at each position and hopefully help you develop a playbook here and understand what we're reading and what we're looking for. Okay, footwork from our quarterback. We work off of a clock with a lot of things that we do. 12 o'clock being directly in front of the quarterback. So when we say we're stepping at 4 o'clock, it's at somewhere 45-degree angle, and just look at a clock and understand where those guys need to step. So if you're running inside veer to the right, you're stepping at 4 o'clock. If you're running inside veer to the left, it would be 8 o'clock. Handoff key, again, is your first man on or outside the offensive tackle. So anything on or outside could be that 4-eye in a lot of 50 front defenses, that 4 technique, that 5 technique. Could be wider if you have a tight end. Most of the time when we run inside veer, we do not have a tight end in the ball game. And the pitch key will be the next defender outside your handoff key, okay, depending on the defense. Fullback footwork is we're going to take a play side step and we're going to aim for that inside hip of that play side guard. Again, we're talking about a 3-foot split, and I can't reiterate enough of how important it is when you set the splits on your rag that you're working off for individual time, that you set those things at 3 feet and understand that how important it is that you're hitting that same path all the time. A lot of coaches have asked me about making an A-frame and painting things on the field and doing all that. If that's what works for you, we've done that in the past when we started. I would suggest that probably initially to get you going in the right direction to make sure that footwork is very, very good right off the bat. We'll read the block of that offensive guard, and if we double that 3 technique, if there is a 3 technique, then we have to hug that double and get vertical as soon as we can. We talk about the mesh and how important that is, and that's going to be important in all our option plays. Play side slot. Play side slot's block is going to be extremely important for those 12, 15-yard gains as opposed to the safety making the tackle at the line of scrimmage. So we arc release the play side slot, and he's going to block the support player. And just again, depending on different defenses and things, you can make some adjustments and kind of look at some different schemes that'll fit your system there. Some general rules is to block the support player. Backside slot, we go in motion. We try to maintain that 1-by-4 pitch relationship, and that's very important because that's what we work off in practice. And when we do down the line pitches, when we do those certain drills like that, that's the pitch relationship the quarterback is expecting, how hard he should pitch it, so it's important that you're there when he's ready to pitch the football. We talk about those slots running right through the feet of those fullbacks. That's very, very important. And we've backed our slots up over the last couple years to give us more of Instead of arcing so much, it gives us more of a horizontal running path there to get us some better pitch relationship quicker, which allows us not to start our motion so fast. And that really has made a very big difference for us, getting the ball to the edge. Receivers, we have different calls, but in a base package, we're gonna stock block the play side secondary support player of the corner. Let's talk about some things up front. If we have an A-gap defender, then we're going to veer release the play side linebacker. Very, very similar concept. And when we work veer releases, our guards and our tackles will work veer releases. So when we break down individual time, we're working veer releases based off of different plays, but that's something you can do in individual time with both those positions. One's working the midline, one's working the inside veer. Okay, so if you have a B-gap defender, things change a little bit from a standpoint now that we have to double that B-gap defender. We want to get big movement on him because that's where our fullback's going to want to cut. Play side guard will double an A-gap defender, and he'll double that with the center. And if you have a B-gap defender, then again, he's doubling with the tackle. Okay, and a lot of those things are going hand in hand here, and you can see the concepts. And we will run inside veer to both the A and B gap. If we're going to check it, which we do occasionally, we will check it to the A gap. Conversely, we checked midline to the B gap, so that gives us some opportunities both ways. Center will double an A gap defender like we just said. And then if anything, if he has a B gap defender, now we're talking some scoops, and that works into the backside guard and tackle. We just use a scoop concept almost like every offense in the United States. And we're really working, if nobody's on your inside gap as we rip through, then we're working up to the second, hopefully the third level. Staying on track, never chasing, very, very important. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at inside veer to a couple different fronts and some different formations that we've talked about previously on some of the PowerPoints and some of the other slides of what we're trying to do offensively with formations. So the first one, we're going to do it out of our base set. And we're going to talk through inside veer, what our handoff key is, what our pitch key is, and some things to help you better understand what we're looking at and what our quarterback needs to be looking at. As we mentioned earlier, I think one of the most important things when we do this is all of our personnel should be able to identify who our handoff key and who our pitch key are on all our option plays. That's very, very important with what we're trying to accomplish. If you look at a 4-3 scheme, we'll run inside veer to the right here. You look right here, this here is going to be our handoff key. We talk about our handoff key always being the first man on or outside the tackle. And that means if you're an inside technique on the tackle, a head-up technique, or an outside technique, that guy is going to be our handoff key. The pitch key is going to be the next defender to the outside. So we'll designate that with a square in this particular instance. So all our kids up front, our quarterback, fullbacks, our slot, all need to understand what we're looking for when we're identifying our handoff key and our pitch key. Okay, let's work outside in here. We teach a base stock on our corner in all our inside veer principles. We do have some calls, and we've talked about that to slam safeties and do some things like that. But our base set, unless we tag things, is going to be to base stock the corner. Our slot is now going to be responsible to arc out and block the high safety. Okay, whether he rolls down, doesn't matter what the coverage is. If we're getting two high safeties, he's responsible for that support player. Okay, now let's start looking at some of the line calls and some things that we're looking at. The great thing about inside veer, and we've talked about this, but in our offense, we run inside veer over 50% of our run game. And so this is something that obviously we spend a lot of time with. We should be able to block any front at any time. And being able to understand, again, who our handoff key, who our pitch key is, really has a big influence on where we're releasing and where we're doing things up front. Okay, if you look at this, I love it here against a B-gap player or an A-gap player. We feel comfortable either way with that. What we're going to do is we're going to step to double here. You know, we talked about earlier that we have 3-foot splits, and that's something we want to be very, very consistent with and make sure we're getting 3. We'd rather have 3.5 than having 2.5. We like those big splits. Keeping our shoulders square through our footwork is something that we concentrate on, and we're looking to double this, this tackle here, working to the Mike linebacker. One thing that's a good coaching point when you're telling your kids to the guard is to make sure, we see a lot of slant and stem and things like that that everybody else is seeing, but our guard needs to understand that he always is going to get outside help versus 4 down, and he's never ever going to get inside help versus 4 down. Okay, so that's something that he has to understand. If that tackle would slant inside here, that he now knows that the center is not helping, he is washing down at that point. Okay, so at this point, if we get an A-gap player here, we're going to full scoop everything. He's aiming for the mic. If the mic scrapes, he's now looking for the wheel. And then it's just full scoop footwork on the backside. I think one of the most underemphasized things in our offense, and something we probably spend as much time as anything else, is our backside scoops. If you're going to be successful, you have to be a great backside scoop team. This will linebacker, if you would go back and statistically look at what we've done in the past, the guy that makes the most tackles on us, it's this guy flowing. So our emphasis is a lot of times on those backside scoops to make sure that you use good technique with that and teach those kids good footwork and things like that. So a lot of it's about effort. Okay, let's go back and look at some of our backfield play, some aiming points that we're looking for. Our fullback, again, is at 4 to 4.5 yards, depending on his ability. Sometimes even 5 if he's a really good player. His toes are at that distance. And what we're aiming for is the inside shoulder of the guard. The fullback has to have some understanding of what type of technique. And really, with the repetition that we do, it's really easy for him. But he knows if he has a 3 technique, that he really wants to hug that double and really hug this double, and as soon as he can get a vertical cut there, he'll get it. If you have an A-gap player and you're doubling him or down scheming him, then he knows that he can work a little bit more inside and get vertical maybe a little bit quicker. Very, very important with the success of your fullback in this offense. Okay, we talk about our quarterback play here. Again, let's reiterate some of our footwork. If we're running inside veer to the right, we're working off that clock. 12 o'clock being here, 6 o'clock being here, so we're going to open up at 5 o'clock and we're going to ride that thing in here, get our head on that front shoulder, and ride that. Get your head on the front shoulder so it keeps your eyes on the handoff key. Running through the heels is our pitch back, and he wants to keep that 5-yard relationship as we attack our pitch key. So as this defensive end crashes down to take the dive, and this outside linebacker scrapes, we want to keep this 5-yard pitch relationship and everything we want going downhill. So we want to really pitch that thing as lateral as we possibly can. Okay, backside receiver here, we just always have that backside rule where he's just trying to cut off the free safety, ends up cutting off the corner most of the time. Okay, against a 4-3, again, it's great versus a B-gap player. It can be better sometimes versus an A-gap player. Really do a good job watching film and knowing the personnel of the defense and understanding what guy you want to try to run different plays at, especially in our option offense. Okay, let's take a look at what happens now when you bring a tight end. This is 50 defense here, just a 2-linebacker set, and we see this a lot, and we like to get in this tight end unbalanced set that we talked about earlier in our formation section. But this is something when you bring your tight end into the game, now you're bringing an extra body in front side. Okay, we always talk about that. Let's run inside veer this time to the left. So now we're going to base stock the corner. Okay, what we do with our tight end is we're now going to veer release. Again, let's identify before we do all this. There's our handoff key. There's our pitch key. We're talking about first guy on or outside the tackle. Next defender to the outside is now going to be our pitch key. So these 2 guys are unblockable for us, okay? And everybody should know that up front. So now we're going to veer release this, and he's going to block inside backer, okay? If inside backer is blocking, he really has to push now to try to get to that safety, because in the scheme of things, we really don't have the free safety block in most of our blocking schemes. Unless it's a late, effort play by a lot of our offensive linemen, that guy's unblocked for us most of the time, and we like those one-on-one situations. Okay, slot again as a support player has to try to gain outside leverage. Again, we talked about that. Get him square initially, feel the pressure of the play, react to the play, and now know where that safety's trying to fit in and try to get your body in that position. Okay, important technique here. We just talked about the tackle, or excuse me, the tight end veer releasing. Now what we tell our tackle on this, because in 50 defenses you're seeing a lot of inside technique, maybe a head-up technique, maybe some outside technique. What we tell this guy is we tell our tackle to take the best release. And you have to spend some individual time on this so kids know. Is it okay for him to take an outside release? Sure it is. That's something that we coach our kids on. But he better understand that he better hug that if he's going to do that and really work to that backer. We'd rather him take an inside release. Obviously, if you get an inside technique like a 4-eye, then you now know you're going to have to outside release. If he gets a guy that's really squeezing him throughout the game, we might start outside releasing this guy. If he pressures, then we'll just give the football and then go get it. Okay, so we'll take best release here, working to this play side backer. Okay, this tackle or this guard here is going to work straight ahead. And this is probably one of the most important coaching points, and we offensive line coaches say this all the time. Don't chase the backers, okay, especially in this situation. If it's a two-backer set, don't chase that backer knowing that you have outside help. This guy's going to flow, so be ready for this guy to hit here. You know, if you get some type of three-backer look, now that guard's responsible for the mic. Okay, so you can see why it's important that he doesn't chase. Okay, we talked about the big scoop. We're really going to combo block this backside. The concept of this is scoop principles. If we can man-on-man with the center on the nose, that's ideal. But this backside guard's always taking footwork, looking for that front side number to overtake. These two are comboing this and working to that. So where's that nose fit in? You know, each play sometimes is different. So you just have to work that combination block. Another block you have to work. Really work inside this guy on our scoop footwork and get going. Again, now we're running inside veer. The path here is inside hip of the guard. Okay, we don't have this, so as soon as this closes down, we're looking for that vertical cut. If he goes wide, get vertical as fast as you can off the blocks at the second level. Running inside veer to the left, now the quarterback has that 7 o'clock step. We're riding that thing, reading this one. Okay, pitch key's on the line of scrimmage, so he knows now there's a potential for a quick pitch. Okay, those guys, and again, we go back to this, reiterate it. Handoff key, pitch key. If pitch key's on the line of scrimmage, be ready for a quick pull pitch based off of where your pitch key's aligned. Okay, you see here's an unbalanced look versus 50 defense. And then over here you see versus some type of 4 down. And if I have the coaching point of the day is teach all your kids up front and all your quarterbacks and your fullbacks and your slots who your handoff key, who your pitch key is on every snap, so if people are varying their defense, it gives you an opportunity to be successful every time. Okay, now we're going to look at some inside veer cut-ups against various defenses. We're going to try to give you some examples of some 4-down defenses. Here's a 4-3 look. 2 high safeties. Looks like they're going to roll some type of cover 3 or man coverage. We see all different types of stuff here. So I think it's important that we identify who the handoff key, who the pitch key is first, which we identify on every snap. We're looking for the first guy on or outside the tackle here. You can see there's a 5 technique on this guy, so he's going to be our handoff key. This guy, this inside defender, is probably we would consider a 2 technique, so the tackle will check here as he moves up. Everything now becomes a scoop. The center here is relatively free, so we feel like we're going to work him to the mic, which would help us if this double doesn't get to him. Everything on the backside is scooping. We should be aiming here with our fullback in the inside hip of the guard. He's going to block the support player, the immediate support player. This should be our pitch player. Handoff key, pitch back. Good look here. Good squeeze. Great footwork here by the play side tackle. Maybe keep his shoulders a little more square, but the concept's there. He's going to run, stay on track, get the home run block late. Okay, let's go back to the wide here real quick so everybody can see how this develops. We're going to base stock the corner. We're going to run him off here in this situation. Great job by that top receiver. Recognizes some type of man coverage potentially. He has the right to run him off as soon as he feels like he has an advantage of him. He's going to work and be real aggressive on the stock block. Good look there. Okay, inside veer here again versus 4-3 team. probably double A gap look here. Let's take a look. Okay, double A gap defenders. So now we're going to run this to the boundary, to the A gap. Okay, we really like if we can get an A gap defender. That's why we run inside veer a lot of times to the boundary, so we get an A gap defender here. So we're going to identify our handoff key as the first guy on or outside the tackle. Pitch key is this outside defender here in a 4-3. Okay, so veer release, no immediate threat to the inside. We need to double. He should be looking to seal the mic. He should double combo here or just down block here, depending on how we've game planned that. Backside scoop and all the good stuff here. The center has this combination here that he can work. Great job here pulling and pitching by our quarterback. Recognizes that we're getting that quarterback player is coming off the edge real fast, so we should pull and pitch it immediately. Something you really have to spend a lot of time practicing. Okay, let's go back to the wide here real quick so you can see the edge stuff. Great job here of gaining leverage here by our wide receiver. Really, we want to get square on him, but he recognizes the ball's been pitched and the pressure this kid's giving him. And now he knows if he can maintain this just a little bit longer, we have a chance. You know, you talk about home run blocks, you really have to really work on the backside blocks and keeping angles and not hesitating and trying to cut those guys off. If we do that there, we have a touchdown. Okay, let's look at a 4-3 look here again. Okay, good. Quarterback probably missed the read, but recognizes he has leverage. We talk about leverage. As soon as we gain leverage on our pitch key, we want to pitch the football. Okay? Again, let's identify. Handoff key is in front of this linebacker. We have a B gap player, so we should double this to the mic. Pitch key here. He moves upfield. Could have probably given the football, but notice he has leverage here. Normally, if he missed the read, we would follow it and try to just duck it for 0. But if this guy recognizes we have leverage on our pitch guy, then we'll go ahead and pitch a football. Again, backside scoops and all that good stuff here. Good look on the inside, being physical. Good physical block, finishing the run, taking care of the football. Okay, let's look at a stack team. 3-3 stack or 3-5. Okay, we give the football a lot. And in our offense, this year we had 4,500 yards rushing, and 2,000 of it came from our fullback position, and the other 2,500 was split between our slots and our quarterbacks. Identify handoff key, pitch key potentially, depending on this here. There may be a defender out here that we would identify as the pitch key versus stack defense. Okay, now your guard has to work to that mic. You can see the defensive end sits. This is a give for us. Great job getting a vertical cut here by the fullback. Excellent. Okay, one more cut up of 52 defense here. We're going to see 4 down stem to 50. 3-4 defense. Okay, good look here on this clip. What I want to show you is it doesn't matter how your tackle releases that defensive end. Sometimes outside releasing him puts a lot of pressure on him. So we identify this as our handoff key, this as our pitch defender. If we outside release, gives us some type of advantage here. Again, the pitch guy runs to the pitch. Our quarterback ducks it. Excellent job of working hash, numbers, sideline. Okay, get an end zone look here. Great splits. Great job gaining leverage at all positions. We cut, as we mentioned before, but you can see a lot of people not cutting in here, just trying to get the hat on the correct side and gaining leverage on everybody. If this slot here gains better leverage on this one, then you have a lot better play. Next, we're going to talk about outside veer. And we talk about working from inside out. So we've talked about the midline being an A gap, inside veer being that B gap play, and now outside veer being that C gap play. We started running outside veer a lot later than we did inside and midline, just from a standpoint of we had to figure out that track for that fullback since we're essentially in an I position. And it's a little bit different footwork. And we, since we've done it, it's probably one of our better plays, especially versus 50 defense. It really puts a lot of pressure on those outside linebackers. Let's go through some responsibilities here as we try to describe different keys to being successful here at each position. With our quarterback, we're going to talk about the old 1-2-3 slide and ride. Coach Hafner growing up at Pitt State, and we both played high school football in the option in the split back. This is what we grew up with, 1-2-3 slide and ride, and this is a great concept, working straight down or into the line of scrimmage. Hopefully you're getting penetration from your guys up front, that your quarterback's able to work into the line of scrimmage here, reach that ball back off that third step and ride that thing in there. Fairly easy read for your quarterback. We really like this because he's getting that opportunity as he's working down the line of scrimmage, checking out that outside pitch key, or the handoff key in this case. So 50 defense, that 9 technique really putting some pressure on him. Handoff keys first, man on or outside the tight end. You can tell how we've progressed out to that. Pitch key now, we call it a mush pitch. And what we mean by mush pitch, it's basically the first guy that shows after our handoff key. And we don't want to necessarily identify who that person is to our quarterback. You just have to rep it because it could be a couple different guys. Okay, fullback footwork. Now we're going to take that play side step at the inside hip of the tackle. This is a challenge because that guy really has to run really fast to get there. With Coach Hafner and I, we've debated a lot of times about doing this, and really, to be honest with you, we just had to rep it and see if it was something that was going to work for us, and fortunately we did. We're going to hug that double team. The fullback's going to hug that double team between the tight end and tackle, and again get vertical, and we'll see some clips of the vertical concept here in just a second. Again, that soft squeeze creating that good mesh. Okay, let's look at the play side slot. Very similar of inside veer. This is one thing that we found that we've tried to keep consistent is inside veer, outside veer. A lot of our blocking from our receivers in our play side slots and our slot, we're not changing a lot, and that's important to us because they don't have to think as much. But we're going to arc release and block the immediate support player just like we did on inside veer. Backside slot's going to try to get in that pitch relationship, running through the heels of the fullback, and our receivers are going to base stock the corner. You can run this to an open side, to a tight end side, and that's something you can do without a receiver out there, and we've done that quite a bit. Okay, let's look at the tight end and tackle kind of together here. But we want to double combo with the tight end with the tackle and really try to create that C-gap opening there so we can read that outside defender or that 9 technique. Very important that we do that. If that C-gap player, that 5 technique, or a 4 technique ends up slanting inside, we immediately work to the play side linebacker. So our double team concept is a double on that C-gap defender, now working the play side. Play side tackle, you look at all kinds of different concepts here that we try to teach our kids, and we're going to, again, double with the tight end. If you have a C-gap player, if you have a B-gap defender, now it just becomes basically down, and all that good stuff. It can very easily, based off of defensive fronts, become a down scheme. Just depends on, again, if you see solid front like a 3 and a 5 and some things like that. And we do see that occasionally. Play side guard, if he has an A gap, he's going to double with the center. Try to get to the backside linebacker. If there's a Mike, we'll get to that guy. Again, if there's a B gap defender, we'll double that just as we mentioned above. Okay, center. If there's a play side A gap, we'll double with that play side guard. If there's not, then we're going to work everything. Now we're working our scoop technique, trying to get to the second level and working up. And again, we try to keep things simple on the backside, especially if we're checking things at the line of scrimmage, that our backside rules are pretty much scoop on every play that you've looked at so far, except for the midline. This is something that we have put into our offensive package in the last couple of years, and really we've had a lot of success with it. We talked about earlier about how the midline play gives us that A gap, the inside veer gives us that B gap play, and we were really looking for that C gap play. And since we're an option team that uses a tight end, we decided to put in outside veer. Okay, again, let's go through some basic rules. We'll run outside veer to the right in this situation. Remember, we're reading now on inside veer is the first guy on or outside the tackle. Outside veer is the first guy on or outside the tight end. Okay, so inside shade of the tight end, head up to the tight end, outside shade, that's the guy we're reading. So in this particular case, okay, we're going to be pitching off of this one. Okay, now we don't have a receiver out wide, so now our slot here is responsible to block the corner. Anytime our slot's responsible for the corner, we have what we call a mush pitch. Okay, a mush pitch is any time that we haven't identified who we're blocking as far as the pitch key is concerned. So a mush pitch could be the strong safety, depending on where this guy ends up. More than likely the strong safety could be the backer over the top. Okay, and as we go through this, you'll see what's going on. Okay, let's work from play side over. Again, techniques vary here out of this from the tackle. So you may get a head up technique. We practice a lot. It's a 5 because we want to double this, and we're going to double this to work to the play side backer. If he works inside, okay, what we do now, if this guy works inside, we'll just down scheme him. If he's a heavy C-gap player, we'll double him, and we're going to try to work to this play side linebacker here. If you look here now, this guy, again, is going straight up. Rules stay the same as inside veer, don't chase. And then now we're scooping on the backside, working this combination, trying to get to this backside backer. Okay, as most of you option teams know, what happens a lot of time, if this guy scrapes, your tight end ends up blocking play side, backside backer ends up being potentially play side guard. This double here, if it's really, really good, can work. If it's late reacting, sometimes you can get to the backside safety. Okay, and again, we're just backside scoop rules here. Okay, we'll always let that backside guy run. If this defensive end gives you pressure, then we'll end up cutting him at that point. We'll work the backside rule here. Okay, going back in the backfield. Okay, again, we don't have a receiver wide, so this guy's now responsible for the corner. So as you can see in this mush pitch situation, your handoff key more than likely is going to be your strong safety. Okay, aiming point for your fullback is now the inside leg of that of this tackle. He again is recognizing technique where that guy is. Hug it, hug it, hug it. As soon as you clear, get vertical as fast as you can. Quarterback's footwork is 1, 2, 3, slide and ride. We talked about that in the PowerPoint presentation, and I know you've seen some video on that, or will see some video on that, so this is important. It's 1, 2, 3, slide and ride. Reach that thing back. We're going to read this outside linebacker, and then we're going to attack the perimeter from there. Pitch path here is, again, running through the feet of the fullback, trying to get to that 5-yard pitch relationship as we go. One thing about outside veer for these pitch backs is they have to really, really bust it to get in pitch relationship because it happens really, really fast. Our quarterbacks love running outside veer. If you don't have this installed, I think it's something that you have to look at because the quarterback has plenty of time to see the reaction of that defensive end or outside linebacker to make a decision. Our quarterbacks love running outside veer. It seems to be an easy read for those guys. Okay, let's look at an unbalanced situation and the dreaded bear front. Who runs the option sees a lot of bear front. When I mean bear front, we're getting out of 50 teams, 3 down teams, we're getting a nose and double B gap players, whether it's 4 eyes or 3 techniques. And now we're getting those outside backers walked up, okay, in some type of roll coverage in the secondary. What we're going to do is we're going to run outside veer now to the left. So again, we'll base stock the corner. Okay, now we have an extra defender here. Let's identify, there's our handoff key. Okay, again, we talk about mush pitch. Okay, potentially could be this strong safety, could potentially be this backer. We'll just kind of put dotted lines around those guys. Because as you can see, by bringing this over, unless they slide the secondary, we have an opportunity to gain some huge advantages here. Okay, so there's our handoff key. Now what bear front does to us now is allows our tight end, he's always going to step down just in case of slanting, especially versus a 4-eye defensive tackle. He's going to step inside and really push vertical to cut this backer off and seal him inside. Try to create this wall right here for our fullback. If we get a true 3 technique, we're going to double this guy. And we're going to try to get mass movement, working everything back into the second level. Okay, again, backside scoop rules. We're going to scoop front side number, work this. This combination here can work here. You can see we can get a lot of people to the second level. This becomes a crucial part of this, is trying to get this backside 3 technique cut off. And it takes a lot of practice. It's something that you have to do. A lot of times those guys will cheat their splits to help out. One thing I know we talked about in our PowerPoint presentation as you look through here that I failed to mention early on is that we cut our splits down a little bit on this. You know, we talk about we're working off of 3-foot splits in all our option game. We'll cut these down to 2.5, sometimes 2 feet. Your kids will try to cheat it down even littler and littler based off of some of the concepts that you're trying to do. Try to keep them at that 2.5, 2 feet mark. Don't let them give plays away too much. We have plenty of run game out of smaller splits, but make sure you don't give things away completely. Attack again this inside leg of this tackle. Look for that vertical cut. 1, 2, 3, slide and ride. He opens up, points his toe towards the sideline, and gets moving. Slide and ride. And now we're going to attack the perimeter looking for mush pitch. Again, run through the heels here, get to that 5-yard mark. Okay, outside veer, a great football play. It again takes a lot of rag work. You got to get that fire hose out, and you got to get on it and just rep it just like you would inside veer, midline, all those things. The footwork's a lot different than, you know, a lot of our option plays that we run. But again, now you're getting a C-gap run play, and you're running still your triple option concepts that you're trying to do. It's an aggressive physical run play that can be very successful and get the ball to the edge in a hurry. Okay, let's look at some outside veer cut-ups. I think this is important that, you know, we have, as we mentioned in the first video, we have several different tight end formations that we run. This here is an unbalanced formation. A 4-3 concept, and they're going to walk up this outside backer here. You can see here they're stemming to this. So let's identify here real quick who our handoff key is. So the first guy on or outside our tight end here will be this gentleman here. So this is going to be our handoff key. So at this point we want to double this guy. We have an A-gap defender, so we should come down on this. He's going to work play side A-gap to the mic, and then we're backside scooping here. Okay, we haven't mentioned this, but we never block this guy except on midline. We feel like our splits have allowed us to not do that and him chasing things down. Okay, aiming point for our fullback is the inside hip of the tackle here. That's our aiming point. He wants to hug this double team and get vertical. He's a support player. He's pitch. 1, 2, 3, slide and ride with our quarterback. 1, 2, 3, slide and ride. Excellent, excellent mesh here. These guys have worked a lot on the rag. Very, very good. You can see this is a good job by our play side tight end. Guy slants into B gap. Our tight end recognizes that, immediately goes to the Mike linebacker. Vertical, get that vertical cut. Let's go back and look at the wide briefly. Give you an idea of what's going on the edge. Very similar to inside veer. Arc release, looking for that support player. We want to try to get that receiver in front of the corner there a little bit better. Great job here by our quarterback carrying out fake, trying to get the safety to run. This has been a great goal line play. People like to pack it in, blitz those A gaps and those B gaps. This is a wonderful, wonderful idea. Yes, we trade a tight end occasionally, just like everybody else. You notice we cut the splits a little bit. Okay? We have a good package of plays that we run where we cut splits so we don't feel like we're giving that away. Okay, this becomes essentially a down scheme across the board. Really puts pressure on this 9 technique. Again, identify here. First guy on or outside the tight end. Let's get this guy over here. So now this guy here becomes our handoff key. Getting inside, so he should step to check slant, the tight end, and work himself up. Good footwork here. Staying on track. Get vertical. Go get what you can. Get in the end zone. Very physical up front. Our kids love this particular play. Okay, this is probably an example here of, there's a lot of good things here. Our quarterback this is his first game running this, so you can see his footwork's not as good. As we progress, this is something he really got really good at. Good read here though. Handoff keys coming down. Now we're going to pitch the football. Okay, we do pitch the ball on outside veer a little bit. Okay, this is some type of bear front here. Could have gave this one either way. You can see we have him a little bit outmanned here to the boundary here. We get a good double team. Tackle should try to overtake this a little bit better. It allows the tight end to come off. Get the ball to the edge here. You can see you don't need that support player if you're pitching off of him. Okay, let's look at some 50 front stuff. This cut here is the one we're looking for, and this is why I put this clip on here. You can see here, this is a great job by our tight end stepping down. He gets a B-gap slant. Good footwork here by our quarterback. And now look at this cut here by the fullback. This is why I wanted to put this on. This is the key to this play being successful. You talk about getting 6 yards. This is going to get vertical, go get 6. Hopefully people overrun and you can make this a bigger play than what we need. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is counter option or counter trap option for us. We're going to go through the progression here. The basic concept of counter option for us is basically when we get teams flowing very heavy to our motion, with inside veer, with outside veer, some of those things. Counter trap option is a good mix-up for us from a standpoint of we're going to false motion and come out the back door, try to gain angles on people trying to play to our motion and get those guys out of position. Been a great play for home run plays for us, and I think it's essential if you're going to run the option and you're going to install inside veer and midline that you definitely have counter trap option involved with that. If you look at the quarterback footwork here, we're going to fake inside veer to the fullback away from the call. So if you're going to run the ball to the left, you're going to fake to the right. And we always spin back to the inside from a standpoint of not ever turning our back to the defense. We feel like that's very important. And when he does that, the quarterback should snap his head and get his eyes on our pitch key immediately. So when the quarterback's under center, it's very important that he identifies where his pitch key is because we're going to lose him for a second before we spin back around. First, the pitch key is the first man on or out, man outside the defensive end. We're going to log the defensive end and 4 down, so we're looking for that outside defender to pitch off of. In theory, if you think about it, on inside veer, it would be the same person on inside veer that you would pitch off of if you're looking at a 4-3 defense. Let's talk about the fullback's footwork. We're going to fake to the inside with the quarterback. Some people will vary this a little bit different. I think this is something you have to feel comfortable with as a coach, and your players have to feel comfortable if you want to ride it in there a little bit more. We token fake because it happens so fast, and we have to spin out of there. I've seen it several different ways, and I think that's something that you're going to have to work out with your playbook. Our assignment, if we have a B-gap defender away from the call, then we're going to expect our fullback to block that guy. And because we're going to pull that play side guard or that backside guard, and we're going to expect if he has a B-gap player that our fullback's going to pick that guy up. And we'll look at what the tackle's responsibility is here in a second. But that's important that we're able to do that. If there's not a B-gap defender, if there's an A-gap defender, our center will take care of that. So our fullback's now responsible for the backside linebacker. Okay, play side slot. This is where things get to be very important. We want to go in false motion. We don't want to sell this thing completely that we're already coming back to the play before the ball snap. We just want to get 1-2 good hard steps like we're going in inside veer motion, and then we're going to come back and we're going to block the corner. So we're going to arc back off that, and you'll see in the slides here in just a second with the cut-ups, and he's going to go try to gain leverage on that corner, depending on where he's aligned. Backside slot, he's going to have to really bust it on this. He's going to have to work very, very hard and to get in pitch relationship. So once the ball is snapped, he's got to get going. He's got to get there because our quarterback's ready to pitch a ball right out of the spin, so our slot has to be there immediately. Receivers, this is a great opportunity to get a big shot. And when you watch Georgia Tech Navy and some of those guys on TV that everybody does on ESPN, you see a lot of those guys come back in on this play and really get some big hits on those safeties because they get out of position, and working towards the line of scrimmage, you can get some good shots on those guys. We'll block the play side safety on that. Okay, tight end. We do use a tight end some in this play. And if we do, we're gonna double combo with the play side tackle, just a lot like we do on outside veer. And now we're gonna work the play side backer to middle linebacker if there is a mic, and basically stay on track. Hopefully those guys are getting out of position. Play side tackle, again, if you have an A-gap defender, we'll double combo with the tight end. If no tight end, then we're gonna veer release this guy, because at a 4 down, if we wanna veer release this guy and the defensive end, because that's who the pulling guard's going to log. So very important. If we have a B-gap defender, we'll double that guy and work to the play side linebacker. Play side guard. We're going to down block an A-gap defender. We'll double team a B-gap defender, just as we mentioned with the play side tackle. Center will back block for a pulling guard if you have that A-gap defender. If you have that B-gap defender that the fullback's going to block, then now the center will go to that backside linebacker. Very important that those guys communicate, and we just come up with basically some calls that we use for the fullback and the center to identify where that guy's located. Backside guard now is going to pull and log the first guy on the line of scrimmage. If we, in a 50 defense concept and we have a tight end, we're going to try to get him underneath the, over the top of the 5 technique and try to get him up to play side linebacker. And we'll look at some clips of that in just a second. The backside tackle, we're going to filter just like we would on midline. Counter trap option is a necessity in our playbook, and if you would go and look at our statistics at the end of the year when we break down our offense, this play year after year ends up being our biggest yardage play per play that we have. It's not something that we just run a lot, but it's when we do, it's very effective. As soon as you see overflowing linebackers, aggressive line play, aggressive secondary play, this is when you need to run counter trap option. Okay, you're going to sell inside veer one side, and you're going to come back out of it and work to the other side. We'll look at a 4 down look here first, and then we'll go over and look at a 50 front. Okay, we'll run counter trap option here to the left side to the A-gap defender. Again, you can run it to the A-gap or the B-gap. It's effective both places for us. Okay, we're going to work here, so we'll work outside in. We're going to always take our corner. Our base call off of this when we call counter trap option is we're always going to take the outside receiver and we're going to slam the safety, gain leverage on him. Remember, we're selling inside veer to the right, so if you get any type of roll 3 coverage, which we see a lot, now this guy should be out of position off of motion. Your play side slot is coming in false motion. He's going to get just before you would say an I position, and he's going to now attack the outside shoulder of the corner, thinking that we're going to get the ball pitched. Okay, so now you can see we can have flow action here. Okay, as we look here, everything is a back scheme. Okay, we're back blocking away from the call. So this guy's protecting B gap. Okay, and if you look at this play, a lot of the same concepts for our quarterback are just like inside veer as far as who your pitch key is. Okay, if we were running inside veer, there's your handoff key. Okay, and we're getting ready to pull this guard here to always block our handoff key on counter trap option. Our pitch key on inside veer is also our pitch key on counter trap option. So there is your pitch key. So your quarterback should be able to identify those and relate those things as if you're running some similar concepts as inside veer. All right, so we're going to down scheme this. We want to get all over the mic right here. All right, now this block right here, our center makes a call. What technique? If he gets a technique that's wider than the guard, we're going to take our fullback there off of inside veer action. Okay, if he becomes an A-gap player, now our guard will back block. The guard and the center and the fullback are responsible for this defensive tackle and the backside linebacker. Protect the A-gap, get to the backside linebacker. Okay, so our backside guard is now going to pull, and he's going to log the defensive end. We'll talk about some techniques if he crosses your face and stuff as we go along here. Okay, we're going to protect the B gap here or squeeze that 3 technique, and we're going to keep a late charge here from this defensive end. Okay, our quarterback is going to open up like inside veer, gather his feet, and he's going to attack the line of scrimmage. One key coaching point to this is to always turn back into the line of scrimmage, and now read the block of this pulling guard that's logging, and now attack your pitch key. Okay, we find, and this is why the play is so successful, so many times you run inside veer, you run inside your veer, this guy can get himself out of position. And now what happens is you can potentially have, as this guy comes off the snap and gets in pitch relationship, you now can have 2 on 0. Worst case scenario, you have 2 on 1 on this outside linebacker. Okay, backside rule here by this backside receiver. Okay, excellent misdirection play. Sell inside veer. A couple coaching points. This backside slot is going off the snap. He's got to run. I mean, he's got to run very, very fast. Again, the play's a little bit slower developing because we are faking here, but it's a quick flash fake, turn back in the line of scrimmage, attack down the line of scrimmage as everything's moving this direction. Okay, let's look at running. We ran this to the left. Let's run this counter trap option to the right at a 50 front. Okay, let's look at this. A lot of similar concepts as far as we don't change a lot of our blocking schemes. Okay, who would be our pitch key on inside veer? Okay, so in this particular case, it's the same thing with counter trap option. Okay, so it's easy for our quarterback. We're still slamming the safety. We're still false motion. Attack the corner. Okay, gain leverage on him, thinking we're going to get the ball kicked. Okay, let's talk about 50 defense here a little bit with what we're trying to accomplish. Okay, we have this tackle and this guard are responsible for this defensive end and that play side linebacker. So again, based off technique, it just depends. This pulling guard has to listen for technique call from this guy. If he's inside leverage, if this defensive end is inside leverage, or he slants from position across his face, this tackle's now going to wash him down. And this is something, again, you have to work on and drill it in your individual time and practice. If he's a loose 5 technique, and that tackle can get inside release and get to that play side backer, this guard now knows he has to get to that defensive end's outside shoulder, just like we looked at over here. Okay, so let's just assume that this guy gets inside release here. Okay, we're again down scheming. That guy's wider, so now fullback is going to be responsible here. He's gonna step in this direction. If he has a heavy nose, we'll double it to the backside backer. We're going to step hard here and filter any trash that's coming. And then as you can see here, we're now going to pull and log this guy. Again, if he crosses his face, the tackle washes down, he climbs and blocks the play side linebacker. Okay, we're gonna flash fake inside veer, open back inside, attack your pitch key. He's running motion, just like inside veer, just like every other motion play that we've had. And he's getting in pitch path, trying to get to that 5-yard lateral or a yard behind the quarterback. And this is our backside rule. Okay, counter trap option. Excellent play for us, great against any front. We like it versus 5 or 3 down. We like it versus four down teams. It's a great play to run second, third quarter after you get some flowing linebackers and you ran inside veer and all your option plays, especially if you're running, your motions consistently running to the direction you're going. This is a great counter action that really is tough on defenses. You get some great angles on the edge, which gives you some huge advantages to get the ball kicked and have some big plays. Let's look at some cut-ups from counter trap option. We'll try to vary some different defenses. Here's that concept we looked at earlier with a 4-3 concept of them walking their outside linebackers up on the line of scrimmage. A solo defense. Okay, you can see here the effect of the false motion that we're getting here, and you can see great job here by our outside receiver setting this thing up, pushing vertically initially. Now he's going to slam block that safety or crack block him, however you want to do it. We would call a crack on a linebacker, and then what we're going to do here is if it's a safety, we'll call it a slam block. Excellent job here by our pulling guard, and you're going to look at that in just a second. from the end zone. Let's identify here what we're looking at. This here is a play side linebacker. So just like inside veer, this is our pitch key on this particular play. This guy here initially is the guy that we want to log with this one, with our pulling guard. If he disappears inside, it just becomes a down scheme or a back scheme. So as soon as he sees this guy disappear, we want him coming up, okay? Because that's important that we do that because he needs to be looking now for play side backer or staying on track. You can see here, great footwork here by our quarterback and our fullback. We have an A-gap player, so our center is going to block him. So our fullback's responsible for that backside linebacker. You see our pulling guards should duck. Did a great job here. Not taking our pitch key. Our quarterback immediately has already identified who our pitch key is, getting that good pitch relationship and get the ball kicked. Okay, here's a good example. I know a lot of people who have asked me about this particular play say, what happens if this defensive end gets upfield? It's important if that happens, and you have to really rep this in practice on, when you do your individual stuff with your quarterback, with your offensive line. If that defensive end that we're going to log gets upfield, then now we have to kick him out, okay? And that happens occasionally. And then you can see our quarterback does a great job here. He sees that we can pitch off this guy. This is just a really good play, essentially. But the concepts here are very, very good of our quarterback seeing a kick out and now duck. Okay, you can see here, this is a 4-3 scheme, same kind of 6-1 solo. Our guard probably bust on this particular play. Could have pulled up here around the down block. Because if you look at, this is the defensive end. If he gets washed down, he should have came around like the last one did. He doesn't identify this, or there's a lack of communication. He kicks out. He recognizes, so he tucks. And that's just the quarterback knowing what the heck's going on. And a good football play here and hustling down the field. And this is what happens when you run this offense. You develop tough kids that want to create big plays. We get, if you look at some things, we haven't talked about personnel and stuff a lot, but we get away with maybe a smaller slot that's really fast and just a tough kid that maybe can't make it at a Division II or a bigger school, but has very good wheels. Okay, let's look at this case here. This is now to a tight end versus a 50 defense. Okay, let's pause this for just a second. This guy here, just like on inside veer, is going to be our pitch key. So we're going to down scheme this thing. We're going to pull. Our guard here should have pulled and wrapped this thing. I think he's going to try to block this thing again. Maybe a lack of communication or understanding what's going on. But he should have pulled around here. But you can see here, you're going to see some great angles that we create with the false motion. This is excellent false motion by our slot. If you're looking for an example to show your kids. Great false motion. Our quarterback, he's taught when he gains leverage, then he's in good shape. And you can see our slot here that goes in false motions, gaining leverage on this corner. From the end zone, trading the tight end here to gain an advantage. Just becomes a down scheme, trying to get to that play side backer. If you don't get to this play side backer with your tight end, in theory, this guard should wrap around and block him. So you should be okay either way. But we don't pass one to get to one. Great job by our quarterback, noticing leverage, get the ball kicked, and good hard run. Okay, now we're getting, this is an interesting formation, putting unbalanced into the boundary here to try to get them overloaded into the boundary. We're going to run counter trap option, getting some false steps here. Okay, again, good job. This is a true defensive end, getting upfield and kicking. Quarterback recognizing, ducking it, and just really accelerating off that. Going to make a play. Good job here by our play side tackle. He's stepping down, checking for slant, and he's going to push off vertical. If there's a guy there, then we're going to block him, which is, this is a great play by him. Get some false motion here. Hard to block the mic in this particular case. Hopefully with the footwork and the action in the backfield, again, we can go get our 6 yards, or you can cut off of them like this and hopefully make it a big play. Okay, counter trap option. This is some great looks at some different defenses. Lots of different formations here that you looked at, and hopefully this will help you out understanding what we're trying to do in counter trap option. The next play we're going to talk about is the rocket toss. And this has been a great play for us, and we have some variations off of it. Today we're going to talk about just the basic, just the wide toss play and getting the ball to your athletes, getting the ball to the slots. If we, a lot of times when you run inside veer, outside veer, and some of these things, people will try to take away your pitch because maybe they're your fastest players. This gets us an opportunity in our offense to allow us to pitch the ball out to them and let our athletes run. Another thing it does for us is allows our quarterback to mentally and physically take a play. I wouldn't say take a play off because we don't want to ever say that, but allows him not to have any reads, turn around, toss the ball, fake a boot fake, and let our athletes go out and try to make our 6 yards or bust a big one. Okay, let's look at some responsibilities. The nice thing about rocket toss is we don't have to spend just a ton of time teaching different responsibilities, footwork, and things like that, because I wouldn't overcoach anything that you do here besides how wide you're going to toss the ball and the leverage that you need to gain on certain players. That's very important. Our quarterback in the rocket toss is going to reverse out and toss the ball to the motion slot. Okay, so we ask him to reverse out, and this is something that seems like a very easy task, like the old toss sweep out of the eye. This is different. I mean, you really have to almost throw that ball out there. We throw it underhand, but this is something that you really have to practice and spend time on. The fullback is going to go away from the call and block the backside defensive end. This is an opportunity for that fullback to go be physical with a guy that's been tackling him all day and to go slow down his momentum, hopefully to create a big play, not let that backside defensive end come in late. Play side slot is going to arc release and block the corner. So we're here in a second, we're going to talk about the receiver slamming the play side safety as you see down here, but this is important. We're going to really, and he's got to really work hard to gain the leverage on that corner because things are going to happen very, very fast. Backside slot, the motion is extremely important. Again, the timing of this is very, very important for this to be successful. We want to try to catch this pitch somewhere 2 yards outside a tackle. If we had a tight end in the ball game, that's a good starting point, okay, for you to start with your slots. Only thing we talk to our kids about is where you catch the football, okay, and being at top speed when you do that. Okay, as we mentioned before, the receiver will slam the play side safety. Again, an opportunity to maybe get a big hit there. Okay, let's talk about the blocking rules up front. And this is something that you talk about the inferior players, the kids that are maybe undersized, that are tough, that are physical, that are this and that. This is a great example. This play is a great example of why we use those kids. Is because in this play, if you don't have kids that can run, then you're wasting your time even putting it in your playbook. You have to gain some lateral depth, and get going here in a hurry to the outside. We ask our play side tackle to release the defensive end and get to the play side linebacker. And he has to do that and gain leverage. We will probably try to cut. A lot of times, if our kids don't cut, then again, it's all about gaining leverage on that guy. Play side guard is going to run past the first down lineman if he has a B-gap player, and he's going to look for that defensive end. Okay, the center, he's responsible through the A-gap, so if there's an A-gap player, then he's going to run through that A-gap defender, trying to stop momentum, make those big guys run sideline to sideline and wear them out. That's another good concept to think about this play, is trying to make those big guys run early in the game and try to wear them down. It makes it easier to double and do things later on in the game. Backside guard and tackle, they're going to run through their inside gap. If there's nobody through that inside gap, then they're going to work up to second and third level. Key coaching point on all the backside rules that we've talked about today is to stay on track. Don't ever stop to get one. Make people run underneath you. All those concepts are pretty similar in most offenses. Same concept with our spread option attack. We're going to look at our rocket toss, which is the wide toss play. It's the option version of a toss sweep, only now we're going to really press the edge with a really wide pitch and attack the perimeter, really make it hard on linebackers and stuff. They really have to flow hard to make this happen. Up front, what I love about this play is it's a very easy blocking scheme. You basically open and run and have some concepts of who you're trying to get to, stay in certain lanes, and attack them and be aggressive with them. Whether you're a high school team and you can't cut, or you're a college team and can cut, it doesn't make a difference. It's all about gaining leverage on people. Okay, let's look at rocket toss out of our base set 4 down. Great football play. And again, we'll run this to the right, so we will look at outside in here. We'll slam the safety always, again, trying to gain an advantage here. One thing here that you can get some motion and some roll out of your safeties here, because you are going to run pre-snap and try to get, you want to be about where the guard is. You know, this is kind of the question that we get a lot about, where's this guy want to be? All we tell our slot is get to a position where if there was a tight end in the game, that's where you'd catch it. So there's a lot of timing issues here that you have to work out. Our play side slot here is going to go block the corner. So again, very similar to some of our other slam concepts, where we're slamming the safety, blocking the corner with our slots. Okay, what we're trying to accomplish here is everybody's going to work a man outside. So if you have a 5 technique and you're a tackle, you're going to open up to the sideline, and the way we teach this technique is to really, off our first step, is to try to gain about 6 inches of depth, and that's really hard for our kids because of our stances are so heavy. So we don't try to give anything away with our stance, but we just have to work some technique here with really gaining some ground here and trying to get to the outside shoulder of this flowing Sam linebacker. Okay, we take our play side guard, same concept, open up, get to the outside leg, gain leverage on that defensive end. What you're doing here on this, the center is trying to gain outside leverage if he has a 3 technique. If he has an A-gap player, then either run past him or try to get to the outside leg. Again, we game plan rocket toss a lot of times of how well these guys can run to the football. Sometimes we don't block them. It's something you have to decide when you're watching film from week to week, if this is something you can take advantage of. If they have a guy that can't move down the line of scrimmage as well, you can bypass those guys or run past them. Again, we're going to try to run past the nose here. Since he's backside and backside here, try to cut this guy off. Okay? And one thing is, on the backside here, is we always take our fullback opposite, and that helps us a lot of times in this with defenses. They'll read, the Mike linebacker will read the fullback, so that helps us maybe get that guy to sit just a little bit extra time to give us an advantage. The Mike linebacker does make a lot of plays on this particular play, but again, he has to run sideline to sideline, and that makes it tough on people, especially as the game progresses. Backside roll to the backside corner, and nothing changes. We do reverse out with our quarterback, and he's just going to turn and toss, and we're going to fake the boot, okay, because we will run the boot off of that. We'll run the boot off the rocket toss and all that kind of good stuff. Again, aiming point here for the catch of the ball is if there's a tight end in the ball game, we want to catch that thing running downhill where the tight end would be. If not wider. We'll always take it a little bit wider, okay? But we don't want to make it too hard. There has to be some consistency so our quarterback knows where that slot's going to be. This is very similar up front split-wise as we do on outside veer. We'll go the 2.5 foot splits just to give us an advantage of narrowing and creating an edge a little bit quicker. All right, let's look at, one situation here is a 50-50 front team. And one thing we can do here, we love a lot of things out of the squeeze, okay? So, and we've mentioned that a couple times as the film's progressed, and you'll hear it a lot. But this is something that, this is a really good play as far as getting people in, creating an edge by squeezing your formation down. We talk about trying to get that 3 to 5 foot split here with our receiver or tight ends, and now gaining leverage. One thing you can do is you can tag things. You can tag things to give you an advantage of trying to block these guys. So what we'll do here is we're out of a 50 front team, we'll seal this guy. So if we call some type of seal or crack or just, you have to come up with your own terminology there. But what we'll do is we'll gain leverage on this outside linebacker. Okay, nothing changes for our slot. He's still going to get this corner. Now he should have an easier time because the corner reduces with formation. Nothing changes up front. We run past this concept, and he's looking linebacker first. The thing is that's nice about this that helps us out is he has to run over a lot of trash a lot of times, and now we can gain advantage. Hopefully our athletes are a little bit better. These slots are a little bit better than some of these inside linebackers as far as running. He's going to work to gain leverage on that defensive end. Run past the nose, trying to gain leverage on play side. Normally he's going to get backside linebacker. Try to cut this nose, and then everybody else is just scooping. Again, we'll cut off this backside defensive end with our fullback. Run wide, get to where a tight end would be. Get the ball pitched wide here, and carry your boot. Backside rule here. Cut that guy off. Okay? Great play to run as the game goes on and we start wearing defenses out and make them run to the football. The guys up front, the second level players, make them run to the ball, make them run sideline to sideline. And really, this is a great play. And one thing we talk about in our meetings and things, when you run the option, it's a great opportunity to take a little pressure off your quarterback and just turn it off and throw it to your, or pitch it to your athletes, your slots, and let them run to the edge and just be athletes and go out and get some one-on-one situations potentially. Pressure off your quarterback where he's not reading anything. And again, sets up the boot real nice. If you're having a lot of success with this as the game progresses, the boot is a great play to run off this as well. Let's look at some cut-ups of running the rocket toss here. Here's a formation that we love to run. We like to squeeze down our tight end, flex out our tight end, or squeeze down our receiver and gain leverage. We have all different kind of calls here. And again, this is something that you have to feel comfortable with and you utilize in your playbook with your personnel and what you think you can gain advantage to try to create an edge here. Okay, you'll see here that this is some type of stack defense, okay, the 3-5 or however you want to call this, with some blitzing. This is a great blitzing play, especially when people blitz A-B gap. Should give you an advantage here. Good leverage here by our slot. You can see here our flex tight end here is going to try to gain leverage on this outside linebacker and try to pin him to the inside. We're going to release this defensive end with our tackle, and he should be trying to get around this, looking inside. Just gaining leverage. If you can't cut, then it's all about gaining leverage on those outside shoulders and running. Okay, let's look at an end zone copy. You can see here our splits are cut down a little bit, a lot like outside veer. A lot of our pass protections, we have a whole package of our splits being a little bit different. Sometimes we'll run inside veer. Just depends on the type of defense we'll see, with smaller splits. But here, you can see this kid getting the ball at the edge, running. Great pitch relationship here. You see he's right there, catches that ball about where the tight end would be if he has his hand on the ground. Okay, here's an unbalanced look that we saw earlier. And you see that we're going to run it weak. We feel like we have an advantage weak. Our play side tackle here should have ran right past that 5 technique and look for the play side backer. If he does this, we have a better football play. Because our guard's expecting to try to get this 5 technique reached. Great job by our slot gaining leverage here on the outside. Excellent job by our slot gaining, just going to get 6, 7, 8 yards here. Let's look at an end zone view here. Running past defenders. Good footwork. Try to gain some ground on your first step. This is really up front here. This is really pretty good footwork by these guys. They're getting some lateral movement here and getting moving. And we do some drill work where we put a 2x4 on their heels and try to step over the top of that thing and get to moving. It's a good drill that we do at least a couple times a week. Great. This is a good physical play on the edge. Okay, here's unbalanced into the boundary here. Again, trying to create angles. Should pin this outside shoulder. Great job here by our tight end who's flexed out. Gain the leverage on this outside linebacker. Excellent job by our play side tackle. This is picture perfect from a standpoint of responsibility. Press in the corner. The receiver's pressed in the corner, looking to slam the safety. Corner's got outside leverage, getting that hat on his hip. Again, gaining leverage and getting a walk in here. This is a good looking play as far as responsibility, gaining the leverage, taking good footwork. look at this one more time. Good football play here. Okay, again, a flex position here. Trying to gain leverage. Again, a 3-5. You know, we've seen it all, and this is one thing here that we ended up seeing a lot later on is some type of monster defense. 3-3 stack with a monster back. Again, try to gain leverage. We're going to crack this backer here, and we're going to try to create angles with all these guys. Okay, we need to get him running. As soon as we call crack, he now becomes responsible for safety. He's responsible for the corner. Again, it's all about angles, creating leverage. Great run here by our slot. Noticing a vertical cut, going and getting that extra 3 or 4 yards here. Good look here at how you get that guard to that 5 technique, and reducing those splits does help a little bit, and he's in a 4-eye, that helps. Great crack block here, good leverage with our tight end. Not devastating, but has leverage on that guy. Good physical stuff out of your slots, which is very important. Okay, with everything that we've talked about today, one of the main things that we talk about is being physical, being tough, and really for us to be successful against every defense, running inside, veer, midline, and all the plays that we've mentioned, is our kids to really understand the concepts of the plays, to be able to identify handoff key, pitch keys, because you never know what you're going to get on a Friday or Saturday when it comes game time. So you need to make sure that you rep against all defenses. If you're going to do things to help you out and make you really good on offense out of the spread option, identify who your handoff key, who your pitch key is, the different releases and things you're going to use up front. But maybe more importantly than everything else is make sure you spend a lot of time on the fundamentals, mesh points, and all the timing stuff that goes with the pitch. And up front, teach your kids to be physical, come out hard. If you make a mistake, do it coming hard, and coach those kids up to be tough and get after it on every snap.